Well, we now turn our focus to Pakistan's crumbling diplomatic landscape, where official channels seem stagnant and a father-son duo steps up to fill the void. As per reports, Pakistan's foreign relations are in visible disarray. Reportedly, its diplomatic engagements with key global players have dwindled, leaving Islamabad grappling with diminishing influence at this point of time. Now, China, a country often hailed as Pakistan's iron brother, but is that bond as strong as what it seems? Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has made only a single trip to China since assuming office. That's 11 months ago. The Chinese Premier's visit to Pakistan after 11 long years was not even a stand-alone event. It was combined with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's heads of government meeting in Islamabad. Meanwhile, security issues surrounding the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, that continues to strain ties between Pakistan and China. Baloch insurgents continuously target CPEC projects, forcing Beijing to demand stronger security guarantees from Pakistan. This tension cast a long shadow over what was once portrayed as an unshakable partnership between the two countries. On the other side of the diplomatic aisle, ties with the United States are equally lackluster. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi recently visited Washington, D.C. However, instead of strengthening ties, his trip rather turned into a diplomatic blunder. Naqvi ended up at an event sponsored by an anti-China organization, an embarrassment that forced Pakistan's Foreign Office to issue a public reaffirmation of its commitment to the One China policy. If that wasn't bad enough, U.S. senators he met later tweeted messages demanding the release of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Now, for a country desperate to mend ties, this was nothing short of a fiasco. Adding to the diplomatic void, Pakistan's current Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is yet to establish formal contact with the new U.S. administration. Ishaq Dar's attempts to engage, like his unreciprocated letter to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have gone unanswered. Even the customary congratulatory message from Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to the recently elected U.S. President Donald Trump seems to have been ignored. No phone calls, no official meetings, just radio silence. And amid this diplomatic drought, two faces in Pakistan are stepping in. We are talking about President Asif Ali Zardari and his son, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. They both appear to have the onus to reignite crucial foreign ties. Zardari is heading to China on a 5-day state visit, according to Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And his discussions will cover everything from economic and trade cooperation to counter-terrorism strategies and also future connectivity projects under the CPEC framework. But this is not Zardari's first visit to China. His ties with Beijing run deep. During his presidency from 2008 to 2013, he paid a visit to China at least 7 times, strengthening economic partnerships and advancing CPEC initiatives. The Chinese Communist Party and Pakistan's People's Party maintained regular high-level exchanges. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is in the United States. As per reports, he is scheduled to attend the National Prayer Breakfast, an event where he will share the room with U.S. President Donald Trump. Bilawal's experience with U.S. diplomacy is not new, as just over a year ago, he was the last to engage directly with the U.S. administration, meeting then Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Washington in 2022. Interestingly, reports suggest that Bilawal was initially set to accompany his father to China, but an invitation to the prayer breakfast in Washington prompted a change of plans, perhaps a telling sign of how the Zardari-Bhutto duo is strategically splitting the diplomatic efforts. Zardari will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing tomorrow. A day later, Bilawal will find himself in the company of Donald Trump in Washington. Now, since Shehbaz Sharif's government came to power, direct engagements, whether through official visits or even simple phone calls, have been scarce or almost non-existent. This void raises a critical question. Can the father-son duo succeed where the Sharif government has failed, or are we witnessing Pakistan's slow fade from the corridors of global influence? Well, scientists have sounded the alarm as H5N1 bird flu has increasingly shown disturbing signs of adaptation. With 68 North Americans infected and 1 death already recorded, the virus is defying traditional transmission patterns, and the spectre of an airborne pathogen is looming large, putting the public health system at a risk. Our next report telling you more.
The world came to a grinding halt. Bustling cities bore a deserted look. The world learned a painful lesson in 2020. When COVID-19 spread silently for months before the WHO confirmed that it was airborne. More than 7 million people died. Scientists fear history could repeat itself, this time with a far deadlier virus. The US Centers for Disease Control has tracked dozens of human infections linked to dairy farms. The virus jumps from animals to people, likely through contaminated droplets from milking machinery. But what if it mutates to travel through the air? Some flu strains have already shown that they can survive in tiny airborne droplets. If H5N1 follows suit, the virus could drift unseen through hospitals, restaurants, and crowded spaces. Inhalation alone would be enough to spread it. Certain mutations might even help it latch onto human respiratory cells, just as seasonal flu does. Tracking flu outbreaks is already difficult, with 1 billion cases of seasonal flu each year. If bird flu becomes airborne, containment could be near impossible. The prospects of an airborne H5N1 variant presents a frightening scenario for global public health. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
In its quest to find water on the moon, China is all set to deploy a smart robotic flying detector. Yes, a flying robot will be China's next tool in search for water on the moon's south pole. According to reports, China will be launching its Chang'e 7 mission next year to explore the lunar south pole, and this mission would play a pivotal role in laying the groundwork for a future research station on the moon, and also for China's ambitious goal of landing humans on the moon by 2030. The Chang'e 7 mission will consist of an orbiter, a lander, a lunar rover and a flying detector. Upon landing, the rover, lander and detector will work together to carry out the most detailed survey of the moon's pole to date. Not just that, the 6-legged Chinese flying detector will also be able to climb, crawl, jump and even fly using rocket propulsion, further allowing it to explore rugged terrain and deep craters beyond the reach of other wheeled rovers. Well, according to a 2023 research paper by the China Academy of Space Technology, the flying detector can travel dozens of kilometers in a single leap when compared to conventional rovers, which are limited to a range of just a few kilometers. And after arriving on the moon, the detector is expected to perform at least 3 powered leaps before switching to solar power for extended surface exploration. This mission marks a major step towards China's goal of building a permanent research station on the moon, and also opening new possibilities in space exploration. Now, for years, scientists have considered the south pole of the moon as a potential location where ice deposits in permanently shadowed craters have never been exposed to sunlight for billions of years. And this resource may be one of the requirements for long-lasting human habitation on the moon. With China's Chang'e 7 mission, Beijing has mounted a major effort to establish itself as a key player in space, a domain that nations, including the United States, are increasingly looking at, not just for scientific benefit, but also with an eye to resources and national security.